want to see it. All right, let's hear it.
Still worth it. As an ex-Google, ex-Meta tech lead myself, I may be one of the most qualified people out there to answer this question for you. It is an...
Just to stop, I literally do want to say, I think one of the craziest things about Sam Altman is how unbelievably humble he is. He literally founded OpenAI, and recently they asked him should people still learn to code? And he says I don't know, nobody knows. I always say no one knows what happens next, but in my opinion, yeah, it makes sense to learn to code, and I think kids should do it, and I think it teaches you how to think. It's just the contrast between the guy who literally founded OpenAI being I don't know, versus someone else being qualified to say here if you should code or not because I worked at Google.
No, it's not. We're entering an age of AI, ChatGPT, no-code solutions, and oversaturated job market where everyone in the world seems to be learning to code, including their grandmas, and general loss of consumer interest in downloading yet another app.
I did watch Sam Altman on Trevor Noah's podcast. Yeah, do you guys agree with that? I think that everybody is learning to code. But I think the nature of the job is going to change significantly. Look, I'll give him a little bit more of an opportunity to chat about this, but my theory is people talk about tools, right? Back in the day, you used to write assembly. We sent people to the moon on basically just assembly code. Someone's going to call me out in the comments for saying that. They're going to be no, it's technically this. But is essentially just assembly code that we sent people to the moon, right? And then imagine when C came out, people could have been oh my God, where are all the assembly jobs going to go? But we need to preserve the assembly jobs, and should I still learn assembly? And it's okay, well, assembly built up into C. C was kind of one of the next steps there. So it sounds like a reasonable thing to still learn assembly if C is just coming out. And because it's more high level than writing pure assembly, it makes it so that more people can do it, right? And it makes the industry larger. So the fact that code is easier to write doesn't mean that there's a fixed pie of the number of lines of code that can be written that can be written in the world. And there's no sound in Twitch. There's sound in Twitch, but no video. Man, I hate Restream. I actually think it's such a terrible product. I thought this was just solved for me. Okay, I'll come back to that in a second. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Twitch, come over to stream to YouTube, and I'll figure that out after. We're already kind of halfway through the video now at this point. Well, not halfway. We're into the video a bit. What was I saying? You might as well be as close to the technology as possible. There's not a fixed line. There's not a fixed amount of code that's supposed to be written every year. And think about the dollars per line of code written. And you're can only be, 1 million lines of code written every year, and I'm going to write X number of lines of that code, therefore I can make X amount of money. I would think of it more as there's X amount of problems in the world, and code can help solve those problems, and how can I use tech to solve those problems?
The world seems to be learning to code, including their grandmas, and general loss of consumer interest in downloading yet another app or bookmarking yet another website. Software engineering may be becoming another dead-end job if it wasn't a dead-end job already. Every once in a generation, we see the collapse of an entire career path. In the past year, I haven't coded at all. In fact,
So I'm one of the most qualified people to speak about this. I haven't coded at all. Building a business wins over coding anyway. I agree. Product manager trying to get into development. Do you have suggestions? Look, I can sit here roasting tech. Why is he in the forest? Oh, maybe he's talking about what he did over the last year. I didn't I haven't interviewed in 5 years, right? I don't know what the job market is like. I can make guesses based on what other people say. I know a lot of startups getting funded right now for AI related things, and I know a lot of people that will be hiring soon. So I don't know. I think every major revolution, technological revolution, it goes to one. It either is won by startups or it's won by the biggest incumbents, right? And I think this one, it could go either way. It seems like it might go to the startups, and if it goes to startups, that just means that there's a whole new ecosystem of startups that are able to hire and scale up, and we're just kind of waiting for that to unfold. It's unfolding as we speak. or it goes to the previous incumbents like Google and Facebook and them. But I mean, like, it doesn't seem like they've capitalized very well on AI. They've said it a lot. They've definitely said the word AI a lot. Have they actually capitalized on it? I don't think so. Future programming is knowing concepts in an abstract sense. I agree. I think one of the major things about like learning to code in the future is like you're not going to get caught up on the syntax, you know, or like the stupid semantics. Like people seem to like they learn one language very well, like, and they learn, you know, maybe they learn about Kotlin very well, and then they understand how the JVM works under the hood, and that makes them like ultra valuable. But maybe that's not going to be valuable in the future. Maybe in the future, it is better to be a generalist. Maybe you're no longer a specialist. I don't know what the future looks like. I would definitely not like to be caught on camera saying something that's definitely going to turn out to be false, because nobody can predict it. Okay. Let's get back to the video. My boy is in the woods.
Traveling. I just came back from Costa Rica. It was great. There was zip lining. I saw sloth.
My girlfriend is coming back from Costa Rica right now. She's on the way back. So what a time.
Birds, monkeys. And you know what? I had joined this tour group. When I sat down for dinner with them, they did not want to talk about coding. Coding bored them. They wanted to talk about soccer, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, music.
The monkeys?
A quick pause. If you're looking to bring your side hustle to life, then you want to check out our sponsor, Skillshare. Make 20.
There we go. There's the sponsor.
Below. Let's coin the term, shall we? The coding delusion. It's much like the college delusion, where people were scammed into spending hundreds of thousands of dollars and wasting 4 years of their life on a useless.
It's an interesting question if you think that this is the same thing as like the college scam. I don't know if I do. I do think Sam Altman's right. I think like learning to code is like learning to think. Like I think it's valuable to do either way. Will your job be the same as it will be right now in 2024? Like pretty much no. Like it's almost guaranteed. It's not going to be the same. It's going to be different, but we'll see.
Degree, which they viewed as the gateway to success, but really led them into Starbucks baristas jobs. And so the coding delusion is similar, where a lot of people put coding on this pedestal, viewing it as the gateway to success, whereas really it just leads you down this terrible 9-to-5 slog of a job.
Okay, like what's terrible about 9-to-5 jobs? I mean, I see what he's saying here, but like the idea that the tech industry is like currently in a bad state, like is currently undesirable, is not the case in my opinion. Like working 9-to-5 and making a few $100,000 a year is unimaginable. You know, my dad worked in a factory his whole life. The kind of fumes that he had to breathe in, like that's just not good, man. Like the heat in those factories, they melt aluminum. Actually, I mean, I talked about this at one point, but like I thought that the whole technological, like I thought that the tech industry was going to shift to India. I actually still kind of think that, but I thought that it was really going to shift when I was in university, because when I grew up, my dad worked in a factory in the auto manufacturing, right, in Windsor, which is next to Detroit. And I saw firsthand all of the jobs leave Windsor and go overseas to mostly China, where they do manufacturing for cheaper. And I have a lot of followers on this YouTube channel, you know, that are from India. And I'm like, these people are absolutely so good at coding. Like these guys work hard, you know, guys and girls, right? These guys and girls work hard. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, but like it just happens to be, I think 95% of my audience is male. So sometimes I just make that assumption. But like you guys work hard and you know how to code and you do a great job. And I don't see why most of the coding industry hasn't moved over to India already. I do know a bunch of startups that hired primarily in India. And I think it seems like that's also a trend. But I mean, I was surprised that people were, oh, hey, machine learning engineer, I'm a woman. Nice to meet you. Is that a YouTube channel? I mean, because it has like a, not like a person's name. I work at a 9-to-5, but I really tend to stay more because you need to give it your best and not or you're not cut out for this job. It makes very little. I think one thing that's good about the tech market is that is that people don't actually have that mentality most of the time. Like I've worked at a lot of different tech companies. One startup in particular was like that, but like I think that they're mostly pretty open to change and they're mostly open to efficiency, right? And they try not to do that kind of stuff. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
in which maybe you're getting paid $60K per year. Maybe a little bit more, sure. But it was originally viewed as the way to become the next app millionaire, the next Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, or Steve Jobs.
Paste. There's never going to be a copy pasta for becoming the next Mark Zuckerberg. That's like by definition.
This is not reality. That was 20 years ago. And you see this all the time in Silicon Valley and software engineers where they're just saying, well, you've got the code. If you're not developing, if you're not writing code, then you're not doing anything. You're doing some clown stuff. If you're not typing C++, hello world, for loops and if statements, do while loops, then what are you doing? Now, by the way, you may be wondering, what is this beautiful mechanical keyboard on my desk, and it just may be perfect. The Keychron Q1 Max, I'll talk about it at the end of the video. The landscape has changed so much. People are no longer downloading apps or visiting websites. Most internet usage is now consolidated into the top 5 to 10 top social media apps.
Well, that's interesting because that point basically means the next wave might go to the incumbents. But I have been saying for a long time that apps shouldn't exist. Jason, I'm struggling with my first internship. Oh, I'll get back to that question. I've been saying for a long time apps shouldn't exist as far as I'm aware. Like, obviously, that's a very broad statement. But I don't understand why apps exist for the most part because you have to download them. Everyone hates downloading them. Then you have to log in. And then if you have to click a link, it opens this weird in-app browser that never has any of your logins. So you can't log into other apps through this app. And it has its own browser. And it's this whole weird situation. Apps kind of suck. I don't think that the web technology is there yet, such that it's basically native level apps in browser. But I don't see why that's not the goal. I definitely think that we need to get to what's that type of app called again? Or website where they basically persist the data, so even if you're offline, you can still use it. Starts with a P. We need to do more of that. I definitely, that's really going to annoy me. What is that? We definitely need to do more of that. And I think websites are the future. I think apps are a thing of the past. PWA, there you go. We need to do thank you, by the way. Coffee was Zen. Thanks, Zen. Coffee. Actually, this is tea. But PWA, I absolutely think that's huge, right? I think that basically unlocks this whole this whole getting around the App Store. The App Store is bad for a lot of reasons, not just the fact that people hate downloading apps, but the fact that there's a monopoly, right? There's Google and there's Facebook, or there's Google and there's Apple, and they both basically have a 30% tax to all the money that flows through progressive web apps. Yeah. They basically have a tax to 30%. So how can you build a huge, gigantic business on the backs of something where 30% of the margin is immediately gone? It's harder. And if you can have the same experience in browser, that's a startup right there. If you could bring native level controls and smoothness of app experience, but do it in a new browser, you would be a billionaire.
Applications like Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, maybe that's about it. However, on these social media websites, you now have code influencers who essentially are people who can't code, who have never coded in their lives. Maybe they're React developers. And there's
is me. This is me, by the way. I love that React developers thing. Yeah, can't code. When I do, it's in React. Can't remember the name to progressive web apps. A lot of people ask about cybersecurity. I'm taking to that trend. I'm going to make a video
selling you the dream that maybe you can be a cool programmer or software engineer. And really their whole entire identity revolves around making programmer jokes, coding memes, idolizing tech CEOs. And it's
that whole thing where this
revolves around making
tech woman channel being run by a man. I don't know enough about that. I did have some people text me about that. I think it had something to do with some conference, right? Trying to get people to come to a conference. I wonder if he calls
programmer jokes, coding memes, idolizing tech CEOs. And it's a throwback, a callback to the days when this used to be the path to success. And yet, these code influencers will continue to sell you this Ponzi dream scheme of an idea that coding will somehow make you rich. Setting you...
I don't think anyone... makes the point that you learn to code and then you just look at your bank account and there's $1 million in there. It's hard work. It's just it's a career, right? And some people do make a lot of money.
When in reality, that is far from the case. Coding itself has become a Ponzi scheme.
I don't know about that. How is that the case?
Preying on poor, uneducated people who think that they're going to become the next Mark Zuckerberg if they just learn React.
I'm not sure about that. What average Average tech salary. Let's say programmer salary. Salary estimates. I mean, average American salary is 59,000, right? And a household is 70. So I don't know. This is a pretty wide range, but I mean, if I had to guess, I'd say it's around around 80 to 100 grand. It's like pretty reasonable. Responding to Tech Lead's videos. This was a genius idea. Haha. People believe. Oh, I should have put that in the thumbnail. People believe them, and when they don't get the money, they feel disappointed. I mean, I'd love to hear about you guys. Because like, look, I could sit here and shit talk people all day long, but what do you feel here? Do you guys feel like coding influencers are kind of scam artists at this point? Is that what you feel like? Do you feel like that about me? I don't sell any kind of like, I don't really sell anything. I have my own startup, but I don't sell that to you guys. But I also kind of feel like if I did have a secret sauce, like I'd absolutely offer it. I don't think there's a shortcut. I really don't. Like, I think you just have to, like, I actually don't know the best way to become a self-taught developer. I know how to teach myself technologies, right? I taught myself all web technologies because in school you don't really learn that kind of stuff. But how do you get, I don't teach anything. Sorry, Derek, I don't teach anything. But how do you get sorry, I got distracted here. I'm new to the whole streaming thing. How do you get past the blockers of like, these, what are they called? Starts with an A, the application tracking system, ATS system that basically like blocks you if you don't meet certain criteria. Like, I know how to teach myself technology, but do I know how to actually put myself in a job? Those are two different things. And I think having a university degree helped me a lot. So I don't know that I have any secret sauce there. I wish I did. I don't know that anyone does, though. I think there are a lot of like people do these things on their own, right? And then they talk about it with their friends, and you can take that and generalize it and say everyone can do this, but like every case is different. Many influencers selling courses, and their courses are crazy and beyond stupidity. I wonder, I mean, yeah, a lot of people have gotten shit for courses. I have a video course platform, right? It's called Pair AI, and we recently launched a course with Scott Galloway. I don't think all courses are scams. In fact, I know people that sell courses for $10,000 a piece, and I was like, holy shit. I talked to some of their students, and I was like, do you guys actually like find value in this $10,000? It was like 3 hours of content. Excuse me. And I was like, do you guys feel like you got ripped off here? And they were like, no, it was like way worth it. It was well worth it. And they, put me in contact with other people that I needed. And all of it was like exactly what I needed to hear. So I don't think courses are scams, but I do think there are scams, right? I think it's like crypto. I think it's exactly not like crypto. And I'm going to make that analogy anyway, but it's like crypto, right? Like Bitcoin. Okay. Makes sense. Sounds cool. Store of value. It's like, okay, don't exactly see it, but like I get how other people do. Makes sense to me. Then it's like ETH, and it's like Ethereum, right? And it's like, okay, now you can program on the blockchain. It's like, okay, that's cool. I like that. That makes sense. And then it's like shitcoin 674. It's like, really? Are we going to do that one? I do kind of feel like that maybe about courses. Like sometimes there are courses that are just like awesome courses, and other times there are courses that you're just like, man, that's a money grab. But I know met the founder of Codecademy recently. He's a YC founder. Codecademy seems really cool. From my estimation, I just don't think there's too much money in teaching things for free. And it sounds great, and it's like you want to do it, but at the same time, like it's hard to scale something that you're doing for free. So try not to like give people shit for charging for stuff, because like it's great when it's free. This is one of the few people that was able to like make something awesome when it was free. But it's hard to scale. It's hard to dedicate your time to it. People have mortgages. People have like, they have parents they have to take care of. They have kids they have to take care of. And so like they can't spend, if like the opportunity cost on working on a course is like helping my parents, or, just doing this course for free, it's harder to justify when you don't actually get that, that monetary incentive. Again, I don't sell anything, but I can answer this as a network engineer, CLI junkie for my whole life. We are now told to learn coding from scratch. Read DevNet certification track. I'm a dinosaur if I don't learn all this. Interesting. Coding influencers are those who try to get their career to the next point. Like somebody who makes wooden spoons will buy a machine that will replace his hands. So we need to think differently. I do know coding influencers, maybe I should just say influencers in general, that will like talk about something and be like, my goal is to be a YouTuber. And so like, this is the first thing that took off. I think people always do things in their best interest most of the time. Yes. Pretty much up to us to figure out which promises are realistic and which are not. Yeah. I think like, I think I do know people that were basically like, my goal was to be a YouTuber. And I don't think that's the right mentality. Like what I like about my YouTube channel is like, I'm a startup founder, right? I'm not a YouTuber first. I'm a startup founder first. I'm a startup founder that has a YouTube channel, not a YouTuber that wants to build a startup. And because of that, I don't have to like spend all my time trying to figure out how I'm going to like monetize my audience or something like that. I'm literally just like, I'd love to jump on a stream once a week and talk with you guys. Sounds fun to me. Every once in a while I sell an ad segment. But it's like, you guys don't skip the ads. I'm going to be called out by some advertiser for saying that, but like, yes, just skip the ads if you don't like the ads, right? I feel like we're at the point on YouTube where that's the etiquette. If you don't want to watch an ad, you just skip it, right? I mean, I can see it. My stats, by the way. I can see it. I can see, boom, right down for the ad segment and then right back up. How do we know which field to focus on? So we have job security. I have to take notes on this stream about startups. I'll chat about startups. I love talking about startups. I actually do want to talk about more about startups on my channel, because one of the reasons I posted such little content in 2023 was because this is all about like coding, but I spent a lot of my time building startup, raising venture funding, hiring people, like figuring out product market fit, figuring out go-to-markets, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, it's harder for me to talk about something that I'm not like thinking about actively on a day-to-day. I mean, obviously I'm thinking about coding, but like it's easy for me to talk about what I'm doing at work, I think is what I'm saying. Their engagements by promoting the lifestyle to people just to walk it all back. Bunch of liars and frauds. Yeah, please talk about startups. In coding, got their engagement by promoting the lifestyle to people just to walk it back. I think it's a good point, actually, because it's like, if it was such a good lifestyle, why didn't you keep doing it? But it's also like, I don't know. I get like wanting to change jobs once you get to like somewhere, because I will still recommend to people to go work at Microsoft if that matches their lifestyle. Like Microsoft is a really chill place to work. You get paid a lot of money. When I was there, the stock I think tripled. So like that was super helpful for me. But then I decided I wanted to build a startup. Things do change. Values change and lifestyle changes and things change. So I get what you mean, but I do know a few people that was like from the get-go, it was like, I just want to be a YouTuber. So yeah, I agree with you for those people, but try to be like, try to be understanding that people do actually have like changing goals in life. What do you think will happen in the tech industry when solar storm comes in? I think we die. I think I misunderstand the question.
Let me tell you something about React. React is the language of the slaves. It was originally developed by Facebook for its mass army of junior engineers who could not develop at all and who had no logic or reasoning at all. I mean, these people they messed up all the time, and so they needed a language that was impossible to mess up in. And so they developed React, which was a language devoid of all logic, control flow, where all you had to do was wire up the button to the state, and everything else was immutable, such that it was virtually impossible to mess this up. And any fool could be developing this. And so the reality is, if you're a React developer, which so many people are, you're not actually a real software engineer or developer, because you're not putting to use any algorithms or data structures, and there is no career path to anything higher than that. You're basically doing the job of an automaton slave that eventually ChatGPT will be able to do for us.
Have you had ChatGPT write React code? It doesn't do it very well a lot of the time. I think OpenAI, like GPT-4, has gotten worse over the year. I have it. I write React code all the time. I also write, I write backends in different I use a lot of different frameworks a lot. I like React. React works for everything, man. That's the thing about React is like you can talk shit about it, but like you need to build an app tomorrow, but you're gonna learn Swift. No, you're gonna use React Native. Is it yes or no? Make it short, y'all, and let me drop out. I don't know what the question is. Sorry. Okay.
It's also relevant to note, I'm one of the few software engineers who will actually tell you this because I'm able to step out of my role. Most other developers and people in Silicon Valley have their heads stuck in the grounds and they completely miss the social media revolution. They miss the no-code solutions, still thinking that STEM degrees are the path to success, looking to the old ways of making money where they get 2 weeks of vacations per year, making a good income of 80K per year. They think that's pretty solid. And yet they completely missed out on the social media revolutions and no-code solutions that have minted an entire generation of millionaires. What really happened over the past decade was the construction of an entire consumer layer, the media layer, that comes between your app, service, or website and the consumer. And that is where we see some of the too low pay, is too low status, and it's really becoming grunt-like work. And there are just better, faster ways to make money. I think in today's society, actually, if you really want to be at the top of your game, and even to say top 10% of the population or so, you may want to consider going the entrepreneurial route. Now, of course, not everyone.
I think that has merit, saying that, to be honest with you. I do think that like there's almost this gig economy-ification of a lot of work in the world, and it seems like a lot of white-collar jobs might be susceptible to that too. And but I don't know, man. I don't like entrepreneurs is a very broad word. It could be the case that like in the future, most people don't get hired and they just, are basically one-man agencies or something like that. It doesn't sound like a very good life to me. Intermediate at coding, is CS50 helpful? I haven't taken Harvard CS50 in a long time. I think it's a beginner course though, right? If you're intermediate, I don't know if it would be super valuable. Minimal coding background. I want to get into the tech space, so I'll try to answer some of these questions.
Once suited to become an entrepreneur, and it's pretty hard work and not very fun either.
When everyone becomes an entrepreneur, exactly. I don't know. Does that even work? I mean, like, entrepreneur is a generous word. I think there. Like, not everyone can found the next like Facebook, and expecting that, like, building your economy on hoping that happens is like sounds very fraught to me. But it could be the case where it's like you could call Uber drivers like entrepreneurs, like they work at their contractors, right, for Uber and for Lyft and for other delivery service applications, but essentially they're just workers that don't get a W-2. You could say that about, like, that's what Fiverr is, right? You can do that for coding on Fiverr. You can do that on Upwork. And are those people entrepreneurs? Like, you could say yes, but I don't think that's the future. I don't see that happening. It could be. Hey, what do I know?
But it's easier than ever for.
Yeah, I think this the point in the chat is really good. It's that like most people are good at one thing, right? They're not good at a lot of things. Like even when I go talk to doctors' offices, I talk to them because I'm like trying to figure out, okay, what problems do doctors have? Like back when we were looking into pivots, and it's like these people are literally like surgeons or doctors, and they're best in their field, but they're running a business and they don't know how to market. They don't know how to get people in the door. So it's not the most efficient structuring of the economy if you think about it that way.
People to become entrepreneurs these days, unlike in the older times. And arguably being a programmer is simply just not as high status as it used to be. And status kind of is everything. Recently I was going through the book Vanderbilt by Anderson Cooper, and in that book they've got these rich people, ultra elite families who are born with money, and the thing they realize is, yeah, they've got all this money, but nobody knows who they are, and so they spend the rest of their lives trying to acquire status.
I have actually noticed that in tech. I notice a lot, like, because I've had the opportunity now, right, to meet like a bunch of founders, and you get these founders that make a lot of money, on an acquisition. Maybe they walk away with 10, $20 million. And it's like they do feel like they want people to know about who they are. It's like they all want to write a book. They all want to write books because it's like, what was the point if nobody even knows who I am? Kevin, I'm going to get in trouble. I'm watching a tech lead video. If you want to join, you're welcome to join. I couldn't get Twitch to work. I'm using Restream. It wasn't working, but you're welcome to join if you want.
And status is everything. And so they're throwing these balls, these parties, trying to elevate their physical appearances, your looks, any sort of interesting characteristics or personality you may have in order to become just this nerd who all they have left with is money, right? You're trading everything for that salary job because software engineering ultimately is kind of it's not exactly high status work. High status work would be the type of job that you would want to do even if you were rich. Something like, say, directing a movie, being an actor, maybe being a novelist or a painter, something that would get you some social credibility.
Do you guys would you not do it if you were, would you guys do coding if you were rich or no? I think a lot of people do. I mean, I think you think about countless CEOs or founders that like exited companies and that started new software companies because, well, I guess they love being a founder, but a lot of people that founding engineers and first few hires at big companies that, keep doing it.
A coder,
a lot of
grunt
money.
Worker.
Could've
I mean, you might as well be a
retired.
janitor at that point. I think it's also worth noting that there's two types of programming, really. One type of programming is for slaves, the other is for entrepreneurs. But the slave type of coding are skills that really only work within the walls of a corporate company. And these skills are impossible for you to make money with, but may make you a good employee. Skills like unit testing, right?
I don't know about that. It's all about having fun and being happy. Yeah, I agree. I think like the first goal in life, if you come from not from money, the first goal is like make money, right? At least it was for me. And then you make money and then it's like, okay, well now what do I need to like be happy? And that's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and it should be that way. And that's the exact way that you should think about it. You got to get your needs met first, and then you can think about self-actualization or any of that BS. And yeah, I think coding is actually, oh, that's out of battery. I think coding is actually a lot of fun. People like it. It's enjoyable. And I think what he's about to say is like, the only thing that actually matters to the market is who can like sell products. I'm guessing what he's about to say. And then unit testing at a company is not valuable. But I think that would be like, I think that'd be naive to think, right? Because I think in order to build something of large scale, you do need to dedicate some people to one part of it and be like, your job is just making sure that this piece is like well kept and maintained and is awesome. And, you add new functionality to it. Hey, Vadim, how's it going? And I think that like a lot of people, I don't think that like everybody needs to be an entrepreneur, which I think is what he's about to say.
Companies love unit testing, React, Scrum, Agile, Redux, documentation, code cleanliness, model view controllers, design patterns, Java, doing things the right way. If you're doing any form of this kind of development, they're essentially slave skills. They're only really useful within the walls of a company, but they're useless outside. The real skills that will actually make you money are like PHP and jQuery. That's why all the PHP developers drive Lambos. Now, don't get me wrong. Personally, I love coding. Many times I think about going back to working at Google as a developer, just putting in my 9 to 5.
Kevin developed in PHP. Kevin, do you drive a Lambo?
Rounds, but the thing is, I'm past that. And maybe this is one reason, the answer to why you don't really see older developers coding anymore, because coding is fundamentally like cooking. As you level up, you have to assume the role of the chef who's managing all of the other line cooks. The coding delusion is ultimately built on the foundations of an outdated university degree that's teaching you outdated knowledge and information. If you were to go through an entire college university degree, you would learn nothing about AI or...
Kevin doesn't live in New York City. Actually, Jonathan, he abandoned me. I live in New York City. I just moved to New York City. Kevin doesn't live here. He ran away. He lives in Michigan.
ChatGPT. Quite likely, you would be learning really outdated information like how to build an operating system from scratch.
Somebody stopped watching because how much they don't like Tech Lead.
To build a database system from scratch.
I don't know. I think if I had to be honest, I think this video is mostly like Skillshare. That happens almost immediately. Selling the keyboard and then saying a few things to get reactions in the middle. coding influencers suck. Maybe I'm a sucker. I didn't realize I was actually going to play into it maybe. And then, you know, everybody that codes in like the most popular programming frameworks is like a slave, because then that gets the most amount of people annoyed.